So here we have a basic 3-axis part, and this part is a mold insert. So this actually a mouse mold or a mouse, and it's got a cavity, and obviously you got a cutting plane and a cavity. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do a basic roughing in 3-axis, and then we're going to do some finishing. So we're going to go, as I mentioned, machine, it's set to 3-axis, and post, and this one is set to the Haas post. For the setup, right now it's set to the middle of the part. We'll go ahead and do stock, a box stock. You'll see that it's snapped to the shape of the part. I want to give it a little bit of material at the top. Since this is a parting plane first, this is a parting surface, we want to go up a little bit. So we're going to pick OK. Show our stock. So there's our stock box. Here's our part. We're not going to use any fixtures. We got setup 1, as I mentioned, automatically defined. And we're going to alignment. We don't need to align it. For the material, we're going to use aluminum 6061. And we're going to pick OK. And for this operation, for this part, as I mentioned, we're going to be using 2 operations, roughing and parallel finishing in 3-axis. Let's look at the 3-axis menu. So obviously I'm running the premium configuration. So you've got all of the options here for 3-axis toolpath. In the standard, you have basic 5 toolpath options here that you'll see. You'll see horizontal roughing, horizontal finishing, parallel finishing. I believe you got radial machining, spiral machining. I believe that's it. In the professional configuration or the advanced 3-axis special configuration, you'll have all of these options. And a lot of these options are finishing toolpaths that gives you more precise control over the tool itself for different types of geometry that you're going to cut. So we're going to do a basic horizontal roughing. Okay. Now, the cool thing about RhinoCAM, especially in 3-axis, it already knows where your part is, and we already defined the stock. So it already knows where the material is that it can remove based on the tool. Okay. Anything you pick here is just telling it to only contain it to a certain area. So we're not even going to pick anything. So it's just going to find everything it can cut. For the tool, we're going to use the flat end mill, 3/8 inch. Feeds and speeds, again, we'll just leave that set to default. The clearance plane, we'll set that to default automatic. And the cut transfer set to the clearance plane. Okay, for the cut parameters, in roughing, we're just going to leave it to 10,000ths, in tolerance and out tolerance, in and out, just based on the contour of the 3D geometry in the stock. So it can deviate, about the stock by a 10,000ths up or 10,000ths down, meaning up away from the stock, down into the stock. And we're going to leave some stock material because we're going to come back and do a finishing pass. And we're just going to use a facing cut pattern. We're going to do an offset pattern here. It's just going to go around. We'll do a mixed cut direction. We'll go ahead and start on the outside this time. And we're going to do a 25% step over. We really don't need any cleanup pass for roughing. So let's go ahead and see what else we got for cut levels. Here you can control the depth of your roughing in levels. This is horizontal roughing in levels. So currently it's just going to step down 50% of the tool. So our tool is 3/8, so it's going to step down 3/16 of an inch, or you can give it a precise distance. And you can do some advanced step minimization. We're not going to do any of that right now. So we're not going to tell it here. You can limit the top and the bottom if you only want to rough in a certain area. And Z, we're just going to leave all that alone. A gauge of retract, we're just going to use a helical engagement. And advanced, we're going to fit arcs. So we're going to, wherever it can, it'll fit arcs to any 3 cut points. And here, if you wanted to do some toolpath optimization, you can do based on, corners, like before you get to a corner, reduce by a certain percentage. After the corner, go back. You can set those here. We're just going to generate it. So you'll see here that we have multiple cut levels. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 cut levels, horizontal levels. And let's go ahead and simulate that. Turn the toolpath off. Slow it down just a little bit. So it's working its way across the first level, second level, third and fourth. So there's our roughing operation. Okay. Now, here's where it gets a little bit interesting. We're going to go ahead and do a finishing pass, 2 of them, because this is a parting line. You want to be really careful how you treat a parting line when your tool meets the parting line. And we have some special end conditions that we're going to use to do that. So we're going to go 3 axis. We're just going to use, for now, we're just going to use parallel finishing, which means it's just going to go back and forth on the surface. Okay. Now for the control geometry, you see that there's another tab here called part surfaces. And you'll see these surface extent condition down here. This is telling you how you want the tool to behave when it touches a boundary. So this boundary of the surface is the parting line. So we want to tell it, if you look at that little picture there, we want to tell it, I want the tool to stop when it makes contact with the parting line. You never want to roll the ball mill over a parting line because that degrades it and you'll end up getting flash on your part. So we're going to pick contact, okay? And we're going to select our surfaces. First one, we'll do the outside. So we're just going to pick these surfaces here. So we got those surfaces picked, right click. So here's our surfaces. The boundaries are in green. So when the tool touches the boundary, it'll stop. So with the tool, we're going to use the 1/4 inch ball mill. Beads and speeds, we'll leave that set. Clearance, obviously we'll leave that set. Cut parameters, we have a finishing tolerance of 1,000. That's fine. For this, we're going to leave stock to 0. You could do a pre-finishing. In other words, you could just leave like 1,000ths or 2 or 5,000ths on the stock and then come back with another final finishing. We're just going to do 1 finishing with a stock of 0. We're going to do a mixed cut direction. Obviously, you can do multiple, climb cuts or conventional cuts. We're going to start the bottom or the top. Doesn't really matter. It means whether it's going to start on this being the bottom, that being the top. We'll just leave it set to bottom. Angle of the cut. This is based on the x-axis. So as I mentioned in parallel finishing, the tool just runs along in parallel routes. And if it's set to 0, that means 0 is at the x-axis, so it's going to run in this direction. If I set it to 90, it would run in that direction. And a lot of times users will use this, 2 of these, one operation at 0 and one at 90 to get better coverage with that ball mill. So we're going to just leave it set to 0, going along the x-axis. And for a step over, we'll just set that to say 15%. Obviously, for finishing, you'll probably go tighter than that. Since I got a lot of parts loaded up, I won't make it really tight. Z containment, we're not going to contain it in the Z. For the entry, it's just going to be a linear entry. We want to do arc fitting. Since this is a finishing pass on the cavity, fitting arcs, which means you're going to have a really smooth surface finish. And by our rule basically, by default, you would want this 2 times your global tolerance. So you'll see over here, I have the global tolerance set to 1,000, and we'll go ahead and set this to 2. Since this is the finishing pass, you may want the arc itself to be at 1,000. So in that case, we'll leave that at 1, and we'll go over here and set this to 0.5 or 0.5 thousandth. Okay, we've got arc fitting. generate that. So you'll see that we have a tool path, and you'll see that why isn't it touching the edge? Well, if you look at this and you look at the tool, let's look at the tool real quick. The tool path, I mean. We'll just run the tool down there so you can see it. We can go up here. Look at this top corner right here. Sorry, it looks like I moved the part. If you look at the top view right here and look at the tool, it's going to run up here in the top corner right here. Let's real quick. You'll see that the tool stopped when it touched the boundary of the surface. So the tool is calculated based on the tip of the tool, the way we have it set by default. So the path doesn't actually go to the edge. So when on the inner edge, the tip of the tool will actually be past it, but the contact point, okay, is where it's going to stop. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back over here. And let's go ahead and simulate that. And we'll just play it. And we're just running it back and forth. Speed that up a little bit. Turn the tool path off. So you'll see I don't have a really tight step over, but the tool stopped on the edge and it stopped on this parting line edge. Let's go ahead. I know these are flagged, but we'll just leave them flagged for now. We're going to clone this. And this time we're going to remove all those. We're going to select the cavity surface. Here's where it's important. The tool stopped at the parting line for this surface. We also want it to stop at the parting line on the actual cavity. So we're just going to leave all of the operations, all the parameters alone. We're just going to generate, and then we're going to simulate it. So you'll see that by doing this, you have I know we have a large step over, but you'll be able to see that the tool actually stopped on that parting line edge. At no time did the tool roll over that parting line. That's very critical for molds. Okay, so we got that. I won't post it again since I already showed you posting. That's basic workflow for 3-axis.
We're done with time. Anything else you want to do some post-processing or talk a little bit about that?
Okay. And for post-processing here, I just picked it post. We have two types of post. Legacy, meaning this is the standard post-processing that everyone gets, okay? We call it legacy only because we added a new Python programmable post option. That was a couple of versions back where you want to talk about that, Joe? You can take a moment to talk about the Python post.
Yeah, so the Python post is basically a completely new architecture that we implemented. It was actually implemented in 2025, but we've enhanced it in 2026 quite a bit. And it's pretty powerful. It's event-driven. So, and because of the power of Python programming language, we can do lots of interesting things in the post. So we're pretty confident we can handle pretty much any machine out there in the field right now. So it's an interesting area that we worked on, and moving forward, that is the area that we will be focusing most of our resources on. So you'll see more posts coming, more Python posts being developed from our end.
Okay, and also, what do the users do if they have or they run into problems and they think they might need it?
Yeah, so Python posts are obviously complicated. The legacy posts are macro driven. So, excuse me, we have a post processor generator that's bundled with the product. Users can use it if they are familiar, if they're comfortable, they can use it and set up their own posts. But if you need any additional help on the post processors, we can. If it's something simple, we can do it as part of your support maintenance agreement. But if it's something that we need to really get in and start a project, it'll be a separate cost item. Our sales department can give you the information regarding the costs, and it'll depend on the machine complexity that you have. So you can talk to us about that.
Okay, what I did there is I just selected I had the legacy post. This is the macro-driven post, our post-process generator. I just picked edit next to Haas. And this is the post-process generator. So you have, as Joe mentioned, it's macro-driven. You have all these macros in there for different types of areas of the code. For instance, a tool change, you got macros for, how is the G code going to be formatted when it does a tool change, et cetera. And you can work through all of these operation types, all kinds of drilling cycles, boring, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so if you guys have any other questions, we're gonna wrap this up. We're gonna send you a recording of the video probably tomorrow, or maybe even this afternoon, but probably tomorrow. And you can watch it then. And if you got any questions, you can send us an email to support@mecsoft.com, and we'll obviously answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
See you next
Thanks,
time.
everyone.
Bye.